And we will get this posted if there's anybody that did not get to join us this evening so they can have a chance to watch it. And we are going to start by turning it over to one of our meet directors, Chris Berger. Chris, take it away.
All right. Hey, can everybody hear me today?
We can
Troy,
hear you,
can
Chris.
you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. We know it's been a long day for you. It was a hot one out there for those of you with your teams outside. We want to try to make this as short and sweet as possible. But in the interest of moving things along through the meet, we thought it would be a good idea to host a meeting this evening with teams and disseminate the information as much as possible, answer questions, and then that will this will serve as our coaches meeting for the duration of the meet, unless for some reason Alicia feels that we need to call a coaches meeting to make a decision. But we'll talk about communication here in a little bit. Hopefully we won't need to do that, and this will get through everything. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to talk about facility layout. I'm going to talk about communication. I'm going to talk about warm-ups. I know you want to talk about, you want to hear about when can you set up for your swimmers camping areas. So we'll talk about that as well. We're excited. Welcome to the 2022 Enchanted Forest. We've got some fun things lined up for you and we think for the swimmers. To start with, no more old school scoreboard on the trailer. We've upgraded to a full digital display scoreboard like you see in many of the high schools now. So we're super excited about that. We've got hospitality's got a couple of cool things lined up for you. They've got cold brew coffee lined up, infused water. We've got a misting line lined up for the kids so that they can walk through it and cool off, and you can too if you want. So pretty excited about the meet. Let's dive into facility layout, cover a couple of things. This will be very similar to what for those of you that were at Age Group State last year, we're going to use the same format. This is the exact same map. I'm going to go through a couple of things that'll be slightly different, as you'll recall. So let's start with the east entrance. The east entrance is going to be down here where you see swimmer, coaches, official, volunteer entrance. We're going to enter there similar to the way that we did last year. Throughout the weekend, the baby pool will be open, so we'll have a corridor section off for patrons to go into the baby pool. You'll want to make sure you stay to the left of that, come through a little bit to the north where that yellow box is, just to the right of where it says admin table is where the actual sign-in tents and tables will be. So you'll come up a little bit further. The nice thing is we're very excited, similar to last year, that you won't have wristbands. You'll come, you'll show your credentials the first time, and then we will give you a credential that you'll use throughout the duration of the weekend. You will still need to make sure that you sign in and sign out for every session as you normally do at any meet. If you decide to stay at the facility between sessions, we know some of the sessions are going to be back to back. We just ask that you come back over there, sign in again, just so that we get a record of that to submit to Indiana Swimming. As far as team tents, you'll see in the top right corner, the swimmer and coach camping area. We're going to use a very similar format to what we did at Age Group State. We're going to allow swimmers to have their camping area out there. We thought that it worked very well. It freed up space on the deck for kids to move around. There will be no coaches tents inside the facility. So you will not want to bring a tent for yourself and your coaches. All tents for athletes will be out in that grass area and for you as well. We'll talk a little bit about setting up and when you can get out there here in a couple of minutes. The green area that says coaches row will be a continuous row of tents that we will have set up Thursday night. You will not need to bring a coach's tent. We will also ask that you don't set chairs up in that area. We liked how you were able to freely walk up and down the pool side and coach your athletes. Depending on the event, it worked out very well. We got a lot of good feedback from that. So we're going to go with that same model. So no sitting in that area. Where you see the two green hospitality sections, we will have one that is to the farthest north that will be a tent. Hospitality will be served out of that. They'll bring the food over similar to last year, and you'll just eat from in there as well as in there. Where the lower one is at, we'll have some picnic tables that you can sit at if you would like. You'll be able to, sit out, relax. You can pull a chair out there. For those of you that want to be in the sun, for those of you that don't, you can go under the tent. But again, that whole area around the diving well in the hospitality area, no tents, no coaches tents whatsoever. Let's skip over to the yellow box, the spectator seating area. The west entrance will be the spectator entrance, as well as spectator restrooms will be on that far side of the building. We do have bleachers again this year. They were delivered this morning in the 95 degrees. Nikki and I were out there getting them lined up and organized. They look really good. They're ready to go. So we're excited about that. And admission for spectators will be $15 for the weekend and $6 per day. We are going to charge for finals this year. So if you have a parent that thinks they're just going to make it down for finals, we just want to make sure that they're aware that there will be a charge at finals. We're going to no tents in the spectator seating area also because of the size of the bleachers and the umbrellas that are over there as a part of the facility. We're going to go no umbrellas. So if you could please get that information out to your families tonight, that they will not be allowed to bring tents in, or they won't be able to bring, even big umbrellas of their own. We're going to keep that real wide open. We felt that it worked really well, and the traffic flow over there was really good that way as well. Restrooms, let's hit on restrooms, a couple of things. So I already mentioned the spectator restrooms will be on the left side of that building. The locker rooms on the front of the building will be for athletes only. Please make sure that your coaches know that they should not be in those locker rooms. However, we will have a few porta-johns out towards that camping area that will be isolated for coaches and officials, okay? We're going to put signs on those and hope that the kids read them, and those will be kind of up in that red box. So I don't forget, because I'm thinking of it right now, I know that in the past, some of you have gotten to the pool early in the morning, and you've pulled around to that back and you parked in that grass area. You will not be able to do that. You will get turned around. You'll have to pull back out, and then you'll have to find a spot. So please do not drive around the back of that and anticipate being able to park back there for the day. That will be closed off. We'll have a deck marshal. Only individuals with parking passes will be allowed back there. Let's talk about first aid. I know you can see that the first aid is right at the corner of the diving well, and you're used to that over the past couple of years. However, last year they hosted the diving competition and they put it up on the deck, which is to the right of the diving well. It worked extremely well. It gets kids that are injured out of sight and out of mind, so it doesn't create a triage. So we're going to do the same thing. The facility is going to move everything over there. The admin table, you can see that posted right outside of the office. I think you're normally used to that, and that's where we had it for age group state. It worked very well for Troy, so we're going to do the same thing. Let's see. I already talked about hospitality. The concession stand will be open. They have got a large variety of stuff. It'll be open for the athletes as well as your spectators, but your spectators will have to go outside of the facility and around to get to it. We will also have bubble tea out where the vendors are at, and Ellsmore will be out there where the athletes, or where the vendor tents are at as well. I already mentioned that the baby pool and the splash pad will be open. Please let your families know that. It was something that we definitely heard last year that families liked it. However, they weren't fully aware. And so families that traveled in didn't necessarily have swimsuits for their younger children to go over there and occupy their time. So please make sure your families know that that will be open throughout the weekend. There will be a charge for it, but it's not a very big charge. Clerk of course, you'll see where clerk of course is. That worked out really well for us last year, so we're going to keep that in the same spot as well. We'll have apparel outside at the admissions area by the spectator entrance. That's a pretty easy one. I want to talk about starts. The 100-meter starts will start on the south end closest to the building. The 50-meter starts will be at the north end closest to the scoreboard. Although you'll notice that in the past we had that scoreboard right there on the deck. That is no longer the case. And so that opens up a ton of space back there, which is extremely nice. In your meet letter, it states a couple of things that I want to hit on. One is it states that gates will open 30 minutes prior to the start of each session. On Friday, we will open gates at 10 o'clock instead of 10:30 to allow you to get in and get your tent set up for your camping area. Please don't come Thursday night and try to set them up. Please don't come early Friday morning. We will not allow you in. If you sneak around there and set them up, we will take them down and you'll find them somewhere else out in the park. It's just easier, first come, first serve. It just makes life easier on us. We got a lot going on Thursday night when we're trying to set up. And it's a late night for us. So make your life and my life easier and just show up at 10. We'll let you in a little bit early. An hour should be plenty of time to get those set up, get your kids into warm-ups and be good to go. Okay. Warm-up lane assignments are posted. Or actually, let's go back. We'll talk about weather real quick. Keep in mind that the weather guidelines that we follow are the facility guidelines. The facility rules are there is a lightning detection system between them and the baseball field to the left. When that reads lightning within a 8-mile radius, it automatically goes off. It is not attached to a button in the building. It automatically detects and goes off. At that point, the facility rule is if it's thunder, 30 minutes out of the pool. If it's lightning, 30 minutes off the deck. You can go to your cars. Your athletes can go to your cars. They can go into their locker rooms. You can do whatever you want. But we will follow the facility guideline. In the event that they decide that we need to clear the facility to in its entirety, we'll communicate to you via the GroupMe. And I think, yep, there we go. Troy set up a GroupMe. You can scan that now. We'll communicate that to you. He also sent it out. A bunch of coaches have already joined it. That'll be the source that we'll use to get information to you as quickly as possible. And in the event that you have to go to your cars and wait, that's how we'll get that information out to you as well. We also have created one for parents. And so you can give that to your parents and we will communicate any necessary changes in times or weather events or anything that to parents using that format. Okay. Again, just remember that our volunteers are volunteers and that we are following the guidelines of the Noblesville City Parks Department and what they say is law. Okay. Let's go to warm-ups real quick. Here are the warm-up lane assignments. We'll have them posted all over the deck for you to make it pretty easy. I guess what I want to hit on is this. In an effort to make sure that all teams have the ability to warm up in the competition pool and have an adequate amount of time to warm up in the competition pool, to not shorten it or split times, the lanes will be pretty full. I mean, they're going to be packed. The diving well will be open throughout the warm up as well as throughout the competition. And what I would encourage you to do for your lanes that are a little bit more full is to put some of your kids in the diving well or split their times a little bit to help out. I'll also ask that you work amongst the teams in your lane for starts, and if you want to do backstroke starts, because we will have backstroke wedges at both ends. So if you want to do that, if you need to do pace or something like that, I would just ask that you work within your lane to figure that out and work that out. When you look at it, you'll see that, for example, lane 9 has like 5 teams. But when I balanced out the days and each of the sessions, I worked it out so that consistently across the weekend, there is an even number of swimmers at maximum capacity. So I know that it's going to be full. I'm erring on the edge of each and every one of you and your coaches can work together to make it manageable so that all teams get to warm up in the competition pool and no one gets stuck in the diving. I think that is in the best interest of the kids. We just have to be smart about it and work together. So help me with that, please. The diving well will be feet first entry only. And please let your kids know that up front in advance. It certainly helps our lifeguards. We want our lifeguards, to be able to watch the kids and not have to yell at the kids. And that's not what we're looking to do. A couple other things I want to hit on just real quick. Volunteers. We are still in need of some volunteers. And so what we are going to do is we are going to allow visiting parents to help out with the meet if they would like, in a variety of areas. What we would ask you to do is let your parents know this. And if they are interested in volunteering, they can do one of 2 things. One, they can come to the volunteer sign-in table, let us know during that session that they're interested in helping out. We'll find a spot for them. Most of the spots are like, we'll try to use them as timers as compared to somewhere else. But they can just go to that table and we'll see what's open at the time and we'll utilize them certainly, and we appreciate it. The other alternative is they can email our volunteer chair. Her email is lisa@noblesvilleswim.com. So they can just email her directly. Ask them to let her know what session their kid will be swimming in. And at that point, she will communicate with them and try to find something that would work well with them. And let them know that we always make sure that they get to see their kids swim when they volunteer. So, and they get, free hospitality food. So that's pretty amazing right there. Just a couple other quick notes to go before I give it back to Troy. I want to remind you to tell your families that there's no alcohol and there's no tobacco allowed in the facility. They are allowed to bring their own food and they can bring their own drinks. However, they cannot bring glass containers. No pets are allowed in the facility either. So the concession stand is prepared for breakfast, lunch, snacks the whole way through. And we'll be running Meet Mobile. So that's all that I really have. I'm excited for the weekend. Can't wait to see many of you. And I'll turn it back over to Troy. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris. So I'm going to go over just a couple of things, but before I do, Chris and I have tried to do a little bit of research, and we believe that this is going to be the second largest enchanted forest going back to 2010. I think they came up with the number of 1275 in 2010, which is around when they hosted the zone meet out there as well. And right now we are sitting on 1,026 swimmers. So we're pretty excited to get back to having such a large meet. And to manage that, we're going to be doing a couple of things. So one is positive check-in. When swimmers arrive and they come in the gates, they're going to be highlighting their names. We'll have boys on one side, girls on the other. And we want to make sure that as they go through and they come into that pool before they start their warm-up, that they do highlight their name. Those names will be pulled right at the start of warm-up, and we will begin doing our scratches. If a swimmer is running late, what we would ask them to do is, one, if possible, contact, their coach so that you can come and get them signed in. Or if they arrive and we've already pulled those names, we will have them go to the admin table and we will keep a running list of all the swimmers who have came in after we pulled those sign-ins. But just please reiterate to your swimmers, positive check-in because of the timelines, and we want to get them, make sure that they get their swim. If we have already seated and they come in late, we will do our best to get them in if we have open lanes, but we really want to make sure that we don't miss anybody. Next, on scratches, there is going to be a separate table for the 1500 freestyle. So we know some of those swimmers are going to be coming late. So if they, if they come to sign in, that sign in will be at the admin table. We will also probably go around to coaches and just double check that about an hour or so before the actual start time of the mile. But we're doing that because we know a lot of those swimmers are not going to come at the start of the session. So that particular sign in will be at the admin table. The admin table will also be where swimmers are doing their scratches from finals. So after the announcer has read the results from prelims, that will go over to the admin table. Swimmers can come over, they can do their scratches there. If for some reason results have not been read for an event, whether we're trying to deal with some timing issues or something else is going on and they really need to leave, but they know that they want to scratch, we will actually just have a form where they can put in their name. So this is, as far as penalties, there's no penalty for swimmers missing prelims event. If a swimmer misses an event in finals, what we're basically saying is that they would be out of any other finals that they have that evening. But at the end of the day, we want full heat. So please, have some courtesy and make sure that if a swimmer is not going to be there, that they go ahead and get scratched from finals. And then when we come to the timeline, we'll actually go through this now a little bit. So on Friday afternoon, on the 400s, what we are going to be doing on those, because it's going to shorten this a little bit, is after we have processed scratches, we're going to take a look at the heats, and we may combine the slowest heat of the 13, 14-year-old age group with the slowest heat of the open. So if that consolidates the heat, we will do that. And the way we will do that is just by simply taking that heat in the 13, 14 and sliding them into the open. We won't reseed the whole event. We're not reseeding even that heat. We will just slide them in. That way it will show up correctly on the heat sheet. But doing that potentially saves us almost 15 to 20 minutes off that timeline. And we want to make sure that that Friday evening session starts on time. So just be aware that that's something that may be done. So if you have a 13, 14-year-old swimmer and they go up and they can't find their name on the heat sheet and they're in that bottom area of the psych sheet, just make sure that they're checking that first heat of the open, because that's likely where they'll be. And when that happens, that's something else that we may push out over the group me, just to let people know. So on Friday evening, we think that the majority of the 12 and under events, those should be done no later than 8:30. And then right around 8:30 is when the mile is scheduled to start. After we got all the updates in for the mile, we ended up with 52 swimmers that were entered. 2 of those included late entries, so we have put them down as alternates. And what that allows us to do is we're going to have 5 heats of the mile. There'll be 2 heats of women, 2 heats of men, and then we'll have a combined heat. Those are seeded fastest to slowest, and they will alternate between the genders. But if you have a swimmer that has entered the mile, please make sure that they are going to be there. And if they're not, let me know as soon as possible so that I can contact the alternates and try and make sure that they get in to get a swim. So moving on to Saturday morning, the timeline there is actually pretty good. We usually like to have that session end in time for the afternoon session to have at least a 45-minute warm up. So our pre-scratch timeline there has it ending in 12:50. We have posted that the warm-ups for the afternoon will start no earlier than 12:30. We may get close to that after scratches. And also, depending on how that meet runs, which Alicia will talk about here in a little bit, we might pick up some time there as well. But the goal there is to be done no later than 12:45, which would give at least a 45-minute warm-up for the afternoon session. And if it gets done earlier, we can even go up to an hour. And then on the afternoon session, that one actually is in pretty good shape. That's even under 4 hours, and that is pre-scratch. That's also not included some of the 50s that we will blow through. So that will be done. That should be done if everything's running at least by 5:30, which will allow warm-ups to start on time for the Saturday finals. And then Saturday finals, we have getting done right around 8:45. So going on to Sunday morning, very similar to Saturday morning, we think that should get done no later than 12:45 and probably hopefully closer to 12:30. The afternoon session on Sunday is the one session that's a little longer than we would like because it's ending, pre-scratch around, 10 after 6. But again, it starts with a lot of 50s. We think we can get through this pretty fast. And so we're hoping that between scratches and the 50s, that will be done by 5:45. In the event it is not done by 5:45, we may push the start of finals back 10 or 15 minutes. And we can do that a little bit. That finals is scheduled to get done at 8:35, which is a little bit sooner than the Saturday finals. The other thing we may do, depending on how late that Sunday afternoon session gets done, we may move to having the announcer not reading the names of the championship finals behind the blocks and reading them in the water, and that would then cut some time off of the finish for finals. So that's really all I had. Just a couple of final notes. Just a reminder that on the 1500 that the swimmers do need to provide their own lap counter and lane timer. If it is not a swimmer, it is if it's going to be a spectator or a parent, they would come check in at the desk where the swimmers are checking in and just let the volunteer there know that they're there to either be a lane counter or a timer for the 1500, and they'll make sure they get out on deck. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Alicia.
Great, thanks, Troy. Hi, everyone. We're really excited about this weekend. Can't wait to host your teams. And I think I've met everybody on the phone, but we haven't. Alicia Antonetti Tricker, I will be your meet referee for this weekend. And just want to cover a few additional details and answer any questions that you might have. We do plan to do flyover starts for both sessions on Friday, and then also for the morning and the afternoon sessions on Saturday and Sunday. We do not plan on flying over finals though. So if you could help us make sure your athletes are prepared for flyover starts for everything except for finals, that will be extremely helpful. So we can continue to move the timeline along to keep on track of the timeline that Troy just walked us through. We will try, as Troy mentioned, we're going to try to announce all of A finals behind the blocks, but we'll announce B finals in the water. Will be kind of the cadence that we will try to go through during the final sessions on Saturday and on Sunday. If you could help us remind your swimmers to stay in the pool, because we are flying over for all the 100-meter and longer races, except of course backstrokes. We do need them to hop out. And then also to remind them to immediately exit the pool at the finish of all of their 50s. And then thinking about the 50s, the 50 meters, depending on the timeline and where we stand, we may use a chase start with heat starting while the previous heat is finishing. So just make sure your swimmers are aware that the 50s are going to move pretty quickly, and to make sure that they are behind the blocks with plenty of time. We will be clerk of coursing the 10 and unders. And so if you could help us to make sure that the athletes are over in the clerk of course area in plenty of time to get them lined up and then to take them behind the blocks, that will also help us be able to move things along. For your awareness, and then again, if you could help your athletes understand this as well, our deck referees will be blowing their long whistle as soon as the last swimmer enters inside the flags. And so we will be starting the next race as soon as the last swimmer from the prior race touches the wall. So we're going to move pretty fast. That's something that most of your athletes have been experiencing, I'm sure, quite a bit this summer. But if you could help them remember that when they hear a long whistle, even if there's a race still in the water, they need to step up for the blocks and get ready for their start. So that's how we'll be starting the races. I'm happy to answer any questions here in just a few minutes. I did want to mention swim offs. If there is a swim off outside of it from any of the prelim swims, our deck referee will come and coordinate with you, but feel free to come and find us too. So if you have a swimmer that you know will be involved in a swim off, please come and step up into the starter area, talk to one of my CJs, and they can help you coordinate with a deck referee that will be running the race. So we can all work together to coordinate any swim offs that might happen as a result of prelims. Let's talk about alternates. So alternates, we'll have for our alternates during finals, we want them to report to the starter area CJ. So there'll be a chief judge in the starter area We'll have your alternates, as always, come and check in with them. And, I know this is the last meet before championship, really championships for most of our teams, if not all of our teams. And so we want to be able to give every opportunity to swim to all of our athletes. And so if there are any no-shows in the consolation finals, of course, the consoles, your athletes will be allowed to swim. However, if there is any open lanes in A finals, we'll go ahead and allow the alternate to swim as an exhibition swimmer in that lane. And so they won't be able to score, but we again want to maximize the opportunities for our athletes to swim. So we really encourage you to send your alternates over to us. And if we're able to get them an opportunity for a second swim during finals, we'll go ahead and make that happen for them. But again, they could only score during console finals, and then in the A finals, they would just be an exhibition swimmer. But of course, they'll get their time, which hopefully is what they're chasing right now as we head into the championship season. So as Troy also mentioned, there is not a no-show penalty for Friday events or prelims on Saturday or Sunday or the afternoon sessions. But for finals, if a swimmer misses a final, that they will be out for the rest of their final events. That will be the only penalty. And if that does happen, we will have a CJ come and talk to the coach, just so you are aware. And so we're trying to prevent that, though. So if you can let us know if a swimmer is not going to be there and they failed to scratch for some reason. Again, we're trying to maximize the opportunities for our athletes to compete and get some best times here. So please come and find one of us, and we will help see if we can get the next seeded athlete into the race. We do have backstroke wedges. I think Troy mentioned this or Chris already. They are new self-retracting Colorado backstroke wedges that will be available for the 100-meter backstroke events. And then we'll have the manual backstroke wedges available for the 50-meter backstroke events on the other side. Any swimmer can use our backstroke ledges. Just so if your swimmers are not familiar, definitely help them try that if they would like to during warm-ups. If not, maybe it's something that they just don't use. And of course, it's completely optional. I also wanted to mention, for those that have been out to our facility before, we also have all brand new Colorado pads as well. So definitely an upgrade on the equipment from last summer. And we're really excited to be able to use it all with all new Colorado timing equipment and the new backstroke wedges. Let's see what else. Disqualifications. If there is a disqualification, we're going to do our best to notify either the swimmer or the coach. If for some reason we are just a little bit lighter on staffing on deck, feel free to come and find us too. Just come and find the chief judge that will be over in the starting area, or you can come and find me as well. I'd be happy to talk through the disqualification. But our goal is to notify the swimmer or come find a coach. And if you just be a little bit patient with us to come and find one of you, we definitely will have the conversation. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I think there might be a couple of questions in the chat too. This is a meet that's considered an official qualifying meet for our officials. And so we really welcome all of your officials from your clubs to come and help and work the meet this weekend. It's an opportunity for them to be evaluated and mentored for national certifications and credentials. Typically, this is usually only offered at usually state championship level meets or above, but we've been able to allow for our meet at Enchanted Forest for, gosh, I know it's been a number of years, that's been able to qualify for the OQM status as well. So it's something that we definitely take seriously, and we really want to provide a great experience for all of your officials and just an opportunity to learn and to mentor others. So I have sent emails out to all the officials attached to your clubs. If you could just help me give them a little extra nudge to come and show up and help out on deck this weekend and to sign up for one of the opportunities to be evaluated, we welcome that as well. I'm going to take a quick look in the chat to see if there's anything in there. Troy, can you see the chat box for me? Is there any questions in there that I need to address?
No, the only question that I saw is about clerking, of course, for the 12 and unders, or I guess it'd be specifically the 11 and 12s, but the plan is that only the 10 and unders would report to the clerk, of course. All the other swimmers would report directly to the starting blocks.
So we are clerk of coursing 10 and unders only. I think in one part of their meet letter, it says we were not, but we will clerk of course
Correct.
10 and unders. That is a change. We think because of the size of the facility, it helps, and it helps get our swimmers behind the blocks. So if you could help us get our swimmers over to the clerk of course area, that would be extremely helpful. I'm going to open up to questions or concerns about anything. Okay, Chris, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Hey, thank you, Alicia. I appreciate it. We appreciate you all being on here. I want to hit 3 quick things. You know, when you have these meetings, you're always talking and you're going and you're like, oh, I forgot something. So I want to hit 3 real quick things. One, I'm going to reiterate that we would love to have your parents help us volunteer and be a part of the meet staff. So just have them email Lisa or stop at the volunteer sign-in table. And again, we greatly appreciate that. 2, one thing I didn't mention about weather, for any of you that have not been at our facility during a weather event, because we have the lightning detection system, it gives us the ability to know that the storm is coming sometime beforehand. And so it also gives us the ability to finish the race. So for the predominant number of races, I mean, obviously not if we're in middle of a 400 or if we're in the middle of, you know, the 1500, but for the predominant number of swims, the lifeguards are aware that we will let the swimmers finish their, you know, their last lap, and then we will clear the pool. We don't want, you know, them to be on pace and having a great swim and yank them out, you know, mid swim. So that would be in the event that we are not, you know, in imminent danger, and that the pool director doesn't say out now, absolutely out now. So which we have had to happen. So let's cross our fingers. The weather looks pretty good for the weekend. It looks like it cooled off. And then there's one last thing that I really want to talk about and I really want to hit on. For most of you that have been here before and been at the meets, you either know Ed Parrish or myself. Over the past probably 20 years have been doing this meet, and I am in the process of transitioning to a new meet director. Many of you already know Nikki Monger, and she will be helping out this weekend and guiding through the process in a plan to take over for me as the meet director for Noblesville Swim Club. I'm excited about Nikki doing this and jumping in, and she has dived right into it. So she will be there with us this weekend for the duration of the weekend, and she will be available to answer questions as well if you need them.
So nice of you.
So I think that's all we have. I'm going to open it back up again for any questions that that you may have that Troy or Alicia or I can answer. We'll leave this open for a couple of minutes so that if you have questions, we can get those answered. And if not, we are excited for the meet. We hope you and your swimmers are excited for the meet, and we will see you Friday morning.
So I'm just going to throw one thing out real quick. As Chris said, you know, you go through these things and you think about things that you meant to mention. And I took a couple of notes, but one of the things I want to remind people is that Noblesville, along with a lot of other meets now, we've gone virtually paperless. So we will not be printing results from, you know, the events other than the ones for prelims, but that's all going to be, you know, available in Meet Mobile. The other thing that we will do is as we progressively seed finals for the evening after we've done scratches, we will try as time permits to get those posted, not just on the Noblesville Swim Club website, but also in Meet Mobile. So people will be able to look in one of those 2 places to see if they happen to get scratched into finals. So that's just one thing I wanted to also point out. Before we end, is there anybody have any questions? You can either post those in the chat real quick, or you can just unmute and ask.
Hey, Troy, when we're looking for chat boxes, I just noticed you had something on the slide that wasn't in my notes about courtesy rests. We're running reports to make sure that there is ample courtesy rests in between events for your swimmers. But feel free to come and find me or talk to me or Troy if you have any concerns about rest time in between events for your swimmers. But we do run reports just to make sure we have you know, the proper rest time built in And we will take a break if we need to, but so far everything looks like we should be in good order and won't need to build in any additional rests, courtesy rest breaks.
Okay, last call for questions. All right, well, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week, and we certainly look forward to seeing you at Enchanted Forest. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.